Well, welcome to Old Classic Car, and specifically to this video featuring 100 photos of classic sit-up-and-beg Ford 8s and 10s of the 1930s through to the 1950s. I've tried to include as many different variants as possible, all of which are powered either by the 8-horse 933cc Ford Sidevalve engine or the larger 1172cc 10-horse version. The majority of the cars featured are the post-war 103 Populars, the E493A Prefects, and the 1000-weight Fords and stroke Thames E83W vans and pickups, but sprinkled amongst them are examples of the pre-war Model Y, 7W, the 7Y and CX, along with the E93A Prefect, a few Ford-based specials, and a variety of Fords and Thames vans and pickups. Okay, well let's start things off then. Now here are three classic Fords of the type that you'll find throughout this video. If you need to slow the video down, YouTube does give you the option of doing that. Click the little settings cog button at the bottom of your screen as you watch this. So here we have a Ford 103E FGV834 in a very fetching mid-blue. And at the other end of the condition scale, a very tired Ford Model CX, very much a barn find. And here's an E93A Prefect. Some of the cars that are featured here are fairly self-explanatory, so I probably won't talk about each of them, but where there's something to say, I'll just add in a few little notes. And here's a rarity, a Ford Model Y two-seater Tourer. If anyone can add any details on who bodied that, I'd be interested to know. A side view of a Ford Thames E83W van. In Australia, these were called the Fords and 1010s, 10-horse, 1000-weight vans. And looking a little tired, we have a Ford Anglia E494A. You can just about see the Bakelite dashboard through where the passenger door glass would have been. And an E83W pickup. This was my own vehicle for many years, from the early 1990s onwards. I think this is in Ireland now, re-registered. And a Ford Prefect E493A. And a Ford Pop USL 538 with aftermarket front indicators fitted to the wings. And here we've got an interior dashboard view of a Ford Model Y of the early 1930s. And a Ford E83W pickup, 1955 I think it was. This actually belongs to a friend of mine, but I found this in a field back in 1989. Another 103E Pop. And a Ford Model Y two-door saloon, a long rad. They did two versions, which you'll see throughout this collection of photographs. This is a long rad, identified by the dip in the front bumper. Now, I think this is a Pop 103E that's been Angliarised, with the Anglias, headlamps and extra bits of trim. And here's a Ford-based special, the Falcon Caribbean, probably one of the nicest looking of all the fiberglass Ford specials of the 1950s. I think that's a lovely little car on Bellamy wheels. Now we've got another E493A Prefect. And a black Pop with pre-war Ford script hubcaps by the look of it. At one time these classic British cars, sort of 1950s, were everywhere, but they've all but disappeared now in regular use, so to see them at shows is great. And here's a very straight E83W panel van. Another Anglia, chrome bumper. The Anglia, the Pops had a painted bumper. And this Ford Popular 103E was seen down at the Haynes Motor Museum with a Austin Metropolitan for company. And another Ford Prefect E93A, done up in wartime guise with the headlamp masks and the painted white front bumper. The wheel arches would also be painted white quite often. And here's a garage find Model Y two-door. And a restored long rad Model Y four-door saloon. All Model Ys came with a 933cc 8-horse RAC rating engines. Another Model Y looking a little dusty, with later rear hubs and wheels by the look of it. This was at the Goodwood Revival of several years ago, a Fordson E494C 500-weight van in the livery of a milk company. And talking of vans, here's an E83W, a fairly early one with the small lamps, non-beaded edge front wings, and no badges on the bonnet. And CDG 739, this is a 7W10. Quite a rare car. I think these are available as a 2- and a 4-door. This is a 4-door example. Another barn find E83W drop side pickup. Very nice too, with a selection of larger lorry tyres in the back. And here's an E494A Anglia, looking very shiny. And here's a short rad Model Y. As you can see, the radiator is much smaller than on the long rad cars, and it doesn't require the dip in the front bumper to clear the starting handle hole. Now this has earlier front wheels and hubs on it, but it's actually a 7Y of 1938-1939. That was powered by the 8-horse 933cc engine, whereas this, the E493A, is powered by the 1172cc engine. There's a front view of that E83W again, a very dusty barn find example. And at the other end of the scale, a well restored Ford E83W drop side pickup. And a rear 3/4 view of another 103E pop, looking very smart. This was down at Goodwood a few years ago, done up in the livery of the Cooper Car Company. They ran one of these vehicles back in the day and towed a Cooper racing car around on the trailer. And something a little different, and a flight refueler powered by the 1172cc engine. I told you there'd be some variety in here. And looking slightly worse for wear is this Ford Model CX Saloon. I believe it went on to be restored, or at least that was the plan, but was it done? This Model Y was way beyond any restoration. I actually paid £20 for the salvage rights for this. I managed to retrieve a few parts from it, but most of it was rotten as a pear. And at the other end of the scale, a very nice 4-door Model Y, seen here from the rear 3/4. A slightly faded Ford Popular 103E, I'm sure that would come up nicely with a bit of elbow grease. And what looks to be a garage find, or at least garage stored Model Y 2-door. Looks very original paint. And what looks like a 103E, probably a stalled restoration. You can see the metal dashboard of the 103E just visible in that photograph compared to the Anglia which went before. And a very shiny Prefect with extra later turn signals on the front, very nice. And another project pop by the look of it. A close-up of an E494A Ford Anglia headlamp shell, minus reflector and rim and lens. This is a bit of a rarity. I've got two photos of this here. It's a CX Tourer, a very nice little car. And a front view of the same car. In the background are the related Sidevalve Fords, but the non-upright type, the 100E based vehicles. There's another pop. I may do a separate video on the 100Es and the 300Es and the 107Es, but for this video I just decided to stick with the upright Fords. There's a Model Y 2-door, looking very original, but in need of a fair bit of TLC by the look of it. And a pop, alongside a contemporary split-screen Morris Minor. I mean, they're probably a very similar age, those two cars, yet the pop looks way older. And an immaculate steel back pickup E83W, XTU 814, looking very smart indeed, and a very sound pop. And a work in progress Model Y 2-door, or Tudor as they were called, short rad, straight bumper as you can see. And a Ford Prefect E493A, which was seen in the auction area at the NEC a few years ago. There's a rear view of the same car. I'm not entirely sold on the white walls, but I do remember the paintwork on this being really nice, really original. So I think with some normal tyres, I think that would look pretty good. And there's a very well preserved original 4-door Model Y. Hopefully that's back on the road by now. That photo's from quite a while ago. And this is a Nickery Champion. It's actually on Herald running gear, this one, but they were usually fitted to Ford Pop chassis back in the day. As far as I know, it's the only one. Back to the NEC, and another 103 Pop with a 300E van in the background by the look of it. This was on the Ford Sidevalve Owners Club stand. And here we have a brace of waiting to be restored E83W pickups. Were they ever restored, I wonder? Another E493A. a slightly lonely looking Fordson 500 weight van, which is undergoing restoration, I believe. And another photo of that CX Tourer at a different event, again the NEC but on a different year I think. The lighting at the NEC is never great for photographs. There's a very orange 103E pop awaiting further TLC by the look of it. Has it been restored now? I think that photo was from some time ago. And here's an old supplier's transfer spotted on an E83W pickup some time ago. And there's a pop off to a new home. More classic Ford action now, and this is the interior of the E493A Prefect, showing off its Bakelite dashboard and sprung steering wheel. And there's a very shiny E83W drop-side pickup. Lots of period-style sign writing and evidence. And at the other end of scale, a very dusty, very barn-find four-door Prefect. And here we have another popular alongside a Mark I Ford console. A very original Prefect now. Looks like it just needs some recommissioning, but the paintwork looks to be very original on it. This is an oddball special that was spotted a few years ago at an event. It looks like it's got a supercharged Ford engine. I don't recognise the chassis. Maybe someone could chime in with details of that, but it's certainly Ford based. And here we have a slightly tired looking pop awaiting some TLC, whereas this one, this grey example, looks very smart. WUY982. Again at the NEC, not the best photograph, but it's the only photo I could find of a Ford Model Y van. A very rare little vehicle now. And another rarity, this one awaiting restoration. It's a 500 weight Utilicon estate car version of the Fordson van. It's an early one with the filler neck, the fuel filler neck on the rear panel as opposed to the side. Probably an E04C at a guess. There's a pop in an auction. The rear view of a nicely preserved Model Y at a show. AGO 534. And an immaculate E83W van that pops up at shows from time to time. And a smart Model Y four-door out in the sun, running merrily to itself after several years of being stored away. And an Anglia E494A PTD 696. That tank on the bulkhead there is for the vacuum operated windscreen wipers. The rear three-quarter view of another E493A Prefect. Very smart. Still plenty of classic Fords to come. There's another pop 103E in very standard original condition. The only aftermarket item I can see there is the shiny bumper and a no-tech blue spot lamp on the front. Another drop side Thames E83W pickup. And this Ford Model Y short rad is on display down at Gaydon at the British Motor Museum. Well worth a visit if you haven't been. And here's an Anglia at a local vintage event. And Ford equipped with working organ. Now this was spotted a little while ago. It's a 7Y, an 8-horse 7Y saloon. This was at the Elvington Air Museum, I think it was. That's got a no-tech lamp on the front as well. An AAG J 663, that's a 7W10 with the rare 3-slot grille, which is very hard to find now. And an E83W van, looking smart. VPD 22. This is my old Ashley 1172 Special that I owned 20 odd years ago and is now in Germany. Despite the hubcap, I think that is a POP 103E rather than an E494A Anglia, but whichever it is, it was sort of clinging on to life. And now a few modified cars just to round off this collection of old Ford photographs. Various hot rods and souped up vans. If you're of a nervous disposition or like your vehicle's original, now is probably the time to switch off and have a look at the other videos on this channel. But modifying Ford pops has been going on since the 1950s, 1960s, and is very much a part of the Ford pop and side valve scene. It's not everyone's cup of tea. I'm not quite sure if they're mine, but they're all part of the scene and they're all preserved, so it seemed right to include a few here. I hope this collection of classic Ford photographs was of interest. If your car is in here, it'd be great to read more about it in the comment section below. If you used to have one of these old Fords, perhaps a Pop or a Prefect or an Anglia, it'd be great to hear about it in the comment section as well. If you know of anyone who'd like to watch this video, by all means pass on the link. So thanks for watching. I hope these side valve Fords rekindled a few memories for some of you. Please check out the other videos, and thanks for watching, and more videos very soon. Bye bye.